Well, good morning, all my friends. How you doing? It's a Tuesday, and we're having a situation down by the border. Those poor people. You know, anytime a people is oppressed, whose side do you think God would be on? Right? I granted, I don't agree that you do things illegally. I'm against that. I really don't like that when people do things illegally. But there are times when you have to choose. And you've got moms and babies and people who are suffering, who are trying to escape. And I remember my son, my other son, that co-son, if you will, not my biological son, who I helped raise. He fell in love with a young man named Mario, and he was from San Salvador. And there was a war going on down there, and he felt persecuted. He felt that he would be killed because of his gayness, and he made his way all the way up from San Salvador. I mean, look it up. It's South America on the border, on the coast there. He traveled all. I don't think he had a car. He might have hitchhiked. He might, whatever he needed to do, but he made it all the way up. And how he came across, I don't know. But he did well for himself. He tried his best, and he met he met Danny, and got him a job at a insurance company where he just flourished, and he was so good, such a good worker, and so creative, and just fun. And I adored him. I thought he was just a cutie pie, and I just loved his energy and all that. So I know that it's tough. I know that it's very difficult, and that's just one story, So I can't imagine all the other stories and all what else other people have been through. It's just harrowing. So be praying for them, and that they're able to find peace, and that we look to our better hearts to do what's right. Okay, we stopped on page 177, and we were talking about our dominant or leading love, and it is the love that constitutes us, okay, or guides us or leads us, okay. Our dominant leading love has many other loves. They are derived from its hierarchy beneath it. So no matter how these other loves may look or seem, each one of them is a part of our leading love. With it, they make one government, so to speak. Our dominant love is like the monarch, the leader of the rest of our loves, okay? And it guides our other loves and uses them as intermediate purposes through which it focuses on and aims for its goal, both directly and indirectly. This goal is primary and the ultimate objective for them all. The focus of our dominant love is what we love about all else. What we love above all else is constantly present in our thinking because it is in our will and ultimately constitutes our life. For example, if we love wealth above everything else, whether that means money or property, we constantly contemplate how to get more. When we get more, we are profoundly overjoyed. When we lose wealth or we are profoundly grief-stricken, our heart is in it. That saying, here's your heart in it, If we love ourselves above all else, we keep ourselves in mind at all times. We think about ourselves, talk about ourselves, we act for our own benefit because our life is a life of self. Our purpose is what we love above all else. We focus on it each and in everything we do. It exists in our will like a hidden current in a river that moves and carries things along, even when we are doing something else, because it is what motivates us. It's the factor that people look for, identify in others. Then they use it either to influence the others or to cooperate with them. Our nature is completely shaped by the dominant force in our lives. That force is what differentiates us from other people. If we are good, our heaven is created to accord with it. If we're evil, our hell is created to accord with it. It is our will. So you have to remember, Swedenborg is saying that there's no judgment. We judge ourselves. We're the ones that put ourselves into hell, not God. God is all good. If he's all good, there is no evil in him. He only wants good for us, okay? Does that make sense? All right. If the underlying reality of our life, it is the I can't speak today. It is the underlying reality of our life. It cannot be changed after we die, okay? Because it is our true self. So this is where we need to change if we're going to change our thinking, our hearts, and this is the school, okay? For each of us, if you will, our pleasure, joy, and happiness comes from our dominant love and depends on it. This is because whatever we love, we say is enjoyable, since we feel it that way. What we think about, but we do not have love, we are also capable of calling enjoyable, but it is not the central enjoyment of our life. What our love enjoys, we experience as good, and what our love does not enjoy, we experience as evil. There are two types of love that act on a source for all forms of goodness and truth. There are two types of love that act as a source of all forms of evil and falsity. Two loves that originate all forms of goodness and truth are love for the Lord, love for our neighbor. The two loves that originate all forms of evil and falsity are love for ourselves and love for the world. When the latter two loves are dominant, they are completely opposite to the former two loves. When I think about my brother George, who I love dearly, and only want, like he would get these huge houses, he had a great job, money was a huge thing for him to make because we've been poor all our lives, and that just really scarred him into false believing that having money and having wealth is happiness and goodness and that sort of thing. Although, it makes things a little bit more comfortable when you have a little more, sure. But true love is just being happy for the other. So I would be happy for him, okay? I would go, that's great that would I like those things? Sure. Would it make me ultimately happy? It's okay. It's a roof, I have clothes. I have food. Food is food, It sustains this body that I live in. Sometimes I eat too much. I need to cut that out, I just was happy for him that he was happy. And that's all I wanted was for him to be happy. And same thing with my brother John. Are you happy? Are you satisfied? Is life good for you? Are you loving other people? Are you caring about, other people? Get out of yourself, Stop being self-loving, selfish. Think about other people, what their needs, what they need, and then that makes you happy. I mean, it makes me happy. I don't know. That's just me, maybe. But, it's, I call it, I saw this somewhere. I think it was Facebook, probably. The awoken spirit and the unwoken spirit, if you will. The unwoken spirit is just thinking about self and lower health states and what can I get to make my life better and get more and more. While the woken spirit is just wanting for their neighbor and their loved ones and other people to be happy and have what they need and, not to be suffering and that kind of thing, I think, Anyway, okay. So the two loves that originate all forms of evil and falsity are love for self and love for the world. The latter two loves are dominant. They are completely opposite to the former two loves. The love of Lord and love of our neighbor are the two loves that constitute heaven in us. As I said, they are the dominant types of love in heaven. Since they constitute heaven in us, they also constitute the church in us. The two loves that originate all forms of evil and falsity, which I have said are love for ourselves and love for the world, constitute hell in us, since they are the dominant types of love in hell. Therefore, they also destroy the church in us. Okay? So, two types of love that originate all forms of goodness and truth, which are the types of love in heaven, open and form our inner spiritual self, because that is where these two loves reside. The two types of love that originate all forms of evil and falsity, which I have said are types of love in hell, close and destroy our inner spiritual self when they are dominant. They make us earthly, sense-oriented, depending on how extensively and powerfully dominant they are. Love for ourselves and love of the world in specific, love of ourselves is wanting good things for ourselves alone, not wanting good things for others unless we benefit. So, yeah, not even if others are the church, our country, any human community, or other people who live in the area. Love of ourselves also entails doing something good for others only if it benefits our own reputation, honor, and glory. If we do not see these benefits in good things we are doing for others, we say at heart, what's the point? Why should I do this? What's in it for me? We no longer bother to do them. Clearly, then, we are wrapped up in loving ourselves. We do not love the church, our country, our community, other people in our area, or anything else that is truly good. We love only ourselves and our own things. When we are not focusing on our neighbor or the public in things that we think about and do, let alone the Lord, we're wrapped up in loving ourselves. We are thinking only about ourselves and our own people. If we put it another way, it is our nature when everything we do is for ourselves and our own people. If we do anything for the public, we do it only to look good. If we do anything for our neighbors, we do it only so they'll like us, not because it's the right thing to do. I say for ourselves and our own people, because if we love ourselves, we also love our own people, specifically our own children and grandchildren, generally all the people around us whom we call our own. Loving them is the same as loving ourselves, because we look at them as if we're looking at ourselves, and we see them in relation to ourselves, our own people. Also includes all the people who praise us, respect us, look up to us. The rest may look human to our physical eyes, but with eyes of the Spirit, we're more or less, we see them as phantoms. Love of ourselves is what we have if we despise our neighbor in comparison with ourselves. It is what we have if we think of people as our enemies because they do not favor, revere, or adore us. We are deeper in this love if we hate and persecute our neighbor for feeling that way, and we are deeper still in this love if we have a burning desire for revenge against our neighbors and long for their destruction. If we have this nature, we eventually love to be savage. Okay, so but we can see that the nature of love for ourselves by comparing it with heavenly love. Heavenly love is a love for usefulness because it is useful. It is a love for good things that we do for the church, the country, the human society, people in our area because they are good things to do. If, however, it is for our own sake that we love usefulness and good action, we love them only as our drudges because they serve us. Therefore, if we love ourselves, we want church, our country, human communities, and people around us to serve us. We do not want to serve them. We place ourselves above them. We put them beneath ourselves. Not good. It's a hard, it's a hard thing to come into enlightenment, to realize, I really need to change. So, hope this helps. Anyway, have a great day. Love you guys. Bye.